everyone, welcome back to JP's Budget Collecting. Another episode of the Indie Show. We are back talking about Something is Killing the Children after almost another year delay. We talk about these like once a year, but we are on volume 5, and I got my original crew all decided to come back. We got my man John. What's going on, sir?
Ready to talk, man. Let's get into this.
We will. We got my man Kavi, Comic Books NYC. What is going on?
I don't have it preloaded on my digital comic reading delivery device. But...
well, we'll get it figured out. And then last but not least, we got Delphia and Kachun. What is happening?
Yay. We got power, unlike NYC's.
Well, we're about to be hit with a snowstorm that's threatening to be just a rainstorm, I think. So
hopefully just a rainstorm. Hopefully just a rainstorm.
Hey.
We have GT Key in here tailgating early. Some John guy, I don't know who that is. And Unruly, what is going on?
How do I get the comments? Oh, wait, there we go.
And GT Key is back. So welcome, my friends, for hanging out with us tonight. So yeah, we 2 years ago we did the first 3 volumes, and then almost exactly a year ago we did volume 4, and now we are back for volume 5.
So I know it's been a year between episodes, but in that time, how many issues of Something is Killing the Children came out?
Not a whole lot.
Not a whole lot, right?
Yeah, I think 29 is out, right?
So that's about how many come out in a year, right?
And this volume had been out I think late fall. I just hadn't got around to reading it to a certain degree, so it shouldn't be as long till the next one comes out if we decide to keep going.
Oh, when did it come out?
I want to say November.
Oh, right. Okay.
I think that's right. Maybe.
Right. Because there's been 4 or 5 issues since then, right?
Yeah. It might not have come out till December, but it's been a little. It was around the first of the year, maybe. So it's been a little while. So, all right. So yeah, after all this time, what did everyone think going back for volume 5? Just your initial impressions. And I'm going to let Delphia and Kachun start instead of my normal go the other way. We're going to go counterclockwise.
I was really confused because I forgot where it ended.
Same.
I can totally understand that for sure.
I think I started off and I was like, is this a backstory for Jessica? But then it quickly became very apparent what was going on. So that's where I started. But it was good. Yeah. I thought it was good overall. I still got annoyed by just the way the panels read. I think John reads this digitally, right? So he doesn't have to deal with that issue.
Kavi reads it on the
right? Kavi, just kidding. Switched it up. But Kavi does. Yeah. And I think digitally, probably it's just a much better experience because having to read this book and then some of the panels, it's really obvious. And then others, it's not so obvious. And so
it's almost like you have to scan, see how the panels are laid out, and then start reading.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, but, other than that, the story was good.
Yep, the gore continues. I don't know if the gore was as much as, the first book. But they kind of tamed it down a little bit. But it's not too wordy. And there's a few in places. And I guess it doesn't take too long to get into each of the characters. And I'm still a little confused as to who everyone is and how they all fit in. But in general, just the big players, it's pretty obvious.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Kavi, what about you? What did you think about jumping back into this?
Well, similarly, I did not reread, what was it, volume 4 before this? So I did not, I didn't.
You almost need to read in the last 3 and 4, yeah.
Yeah, in the last 12 months or however long it's been, I've had 0 reading of this universe. I wouldn't say I felt completely lost or anything starting this, but I was like, okay, they're trying to tell a little bit of a adjacent story that combines into the main story or where Erica Slaughter is in relation to this new town and new characters and new murdering of children that's going on and all this stuff. But let me tell you why I wish I didn't read it digitally. Because if I actually were flipping real pages, maybe it would have taken me like an hour to read instead of 15 minutes. Like that's boom, 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 boom. Like I don't remember reading dialogue for more than like 8 pages. Like I know I'm giving it a hard time by saying that, but I feel like the longer this book goes on, the less time I have to put into reading it, which is kind of the opposite of what I'm usually looking for. Like I'm usually looking for expanded dialogue, expanded background, more context. Instead, I feel like it's just giving me this like micro storytelling, like where literally I've read now 5 new issues of this comic in 12 months. And it was like, damn, I should have read it a year ago, these 5 issues or whatever.
Yeah.
Or I should have read the 2 volumes at once to really feel
waited for another volume or something. Yeah.
I don't know, just where this chose to just cliffhang wasn't satisfying to me at all. I don't know. I'm all over the place here with my raw feedback, but
All right.
I've been kind of on the downslide of this book the last couple volumes, and this volume didn't like after a year break like yell at me like you should be reading this comic to me.
No.
I'm gonna keep reading it because it's like 15 minutes of my time.
There you go.
So that's how I feel at this moment. But I'm sure there's things about it that I the artwork's great. The story is fine for what it is. It's pretty enjoyable still. I just think I spent so much time away from it, and then to go back into it, I didn't feel excited by what happened necessarily. Maybe that changes when I read the next volume, because I don't know, because it was a pretty like I felt like the whole volume was striving towards those 2 groups of characters colliding, and then they just kind of like left you in the middle of the road to that happening, and we're like, okay, so come back next volume for like the real conclusion of the story, right? I'm like, so I didn't feel like this was a whole story within a volume that I felt satisfied with, I guess. But we can get into it more.
All right, John, what about you? What were your initial thoughts as you jump back into this?
I think having done these shows with you guys for 4 volumes now, it's pretty clear like what you're in for, right? I think Dave and Delphia mentioned it, like that the panel reading across has been a constant, right? It's always been what's going on with the panel layout. Is this a read across? Is this a spread page or a solo page? The fast read quality, it's always kind of been a
accelerating,
trope, right?
Yeah.
The cliffhanger, like the first 15 issues were like every single one was a cliffhanger. It was like this one epic story in that town, right?
Yeah.
The only volume that wasn't that way was 4, where it was the flashback volume, right?
Mm.
So
I think I really like that volume though.
All of the complaints are the same. But for me, I finished this volume and felt like this was the most even keel of any of the other ones, where I didn't feel like it had the super low lows where I was like, this issue doesn't seem useful, or this was stretching the story out. Each issue felt functional to me. I expected the cliffhanger, knowing that there's probably another volume immediately after to wrap this all up. I expected the speed of it, the violence of it. I was ready for the read across. So like David W, like the second I got to every page, I was skimming to make sure, wait, is this a read across? Is this what's going on here? So for me, I enjoyed this read a ton, more than most of the other ones. And it might be my first time reading it in a trade. It's my first time being able to like know what I'm in for. And I think it's their first time doing a new set of monsters in a new place, knowing their formula. It just felt like the recipe was a little tighter for me. So it worked better. Not like night and day, but I just enjoyed this one a lot more.
So all the previous volumes you read week to week, like single issue?
Yeah.
Came out? Okay, because I didn't know that. So that's a really different perspective on it.
Yeah, I had been collecting it all the way through the like flashback storyline, and I was enjoying it enough. But then our last episode where we were discussing it was the one that kind of convinced me, like, I've been enjoying reading it more.
You'd wait for the trade
condensed and not in singles. I was enjoying reading it more altogether.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can totally see that. So for me, I think I'm closer to John than Kavi on this. I did enjoy jumping back into this world. It was a super quick read. There's so many there's no exposition dump in this book. Like, which in some ways I appreciate. Like, it's pretty straightforward storytelling. Um, I like that we finally got one of the things I complained that one of my complaints earlier was I felt like they spent 15 issues was too much time spent in the original town. Like, I felt like it drug. I didn't feel like this drug at all. I felt like this was moving. Like, I got to the end, I'm like, wait, I'm already at the end of 5 issues. Which, you know,
I don't know if complaining about it being short is I mean, it being a short read can be a really good thing also. Just depends on.
And for
way you
me,
look
I
at
think part of the reason it moved, I thought the pacing was better, even though it took because the whole first issue is just setting up this new town. I mean, almost
Erica's not hardly in it at all.
No, she's not into the last page.
I think it's just the panel, the last
the one
splash
panel
page, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but I enjoyed the setup of. I enjoyed the fact. I thought the pacing helped by the fact that they were jumping from the town to Cutter, and we'll get into that a little bit. But yeah, so they took one issue to set up the town. I thought that was well done, and then I felt like it moved at a pretty decent pace throughout it. So I really enjoyed it, but I was also though continue to be super annoyed by we're going to go across. No, we're going to go down. No, we're going to go across. No, we're going to go down. It's like, just pick a method.
Well, and I think the thing that would I think fix that is sometimes that the where they draw those panel breaks is like right in the damn crease. If they just move them over to one side or the other a little more so that it's clear that one goes across the fold in the center a little bit more. It's sometimes so close that you can't see where it crosses the page. That's right. That irks me a little.
Yeah. Like this one, it appears it's going to go across, but it's just off that it's not.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm sure reading digitally, that problem is.
I mean, I've never experienced it because this has been my experience.
Yeah, that's the benefit of the digital read is you don't have the spine in the middle.
Trying to think back if I read any of these physical, but I don't think so. I think I read the whole thing digital. So.
I don't know, Tony. Why is your name showing up?
Probably just you got to change like some Google YouTube setting or
sign out.
Sign out, sign back in.
Sign his name, something.
And Unruly, that second hardcover, because the first hardcover is the first 3 trades.
Yeah.
The second hardcover is going to be the next 3 trades. I don't know when that's dropping though. I didn't see anything on Amazon for that. Yeah. I do know that the 6th trade is coming around June.
Yeah. So my guess is probably August or September is that hardcover, probably early fall. All right, so let's
they
talk
they put 3 volumes in a hardcover, so
in one hardcover
issues.
Yeah. Yep. 15. So they did the first time, so I assume that's what they're going to do the second time. So let's talk about this first issue a little bit. Dive into it because it really is just setting up a new town, a new monster, a new kid for her to help. I'll let John go first. What did you think about the setup in this new town?
I like it. It's got like a bit of a Western feel. You start in the saloon. You've got the local sheriff. You've got, the kid that doesn't want to talk, traumatized kid. I don't know, walks in all covered in blood. The local yokels are sitting there all drunk around the bar. I like the setup and it plays obviously with this universe and the idea of the like renegade kid in town. Very much feels like an Erica-esque character. And the relationship between the bartender and the sheriff when he brings her in, she's all covered in blood. Like that, I like it's a wonderful mystery. We're wondering where's Erica, when's she gonna pop into this, but instead we're getting the like setup, which I feel like the second volume had to come back and sort of do for us in the original 3 trades.
Right.
They didn't spend enough time explaining the local yokels until later, and I think that felt like unnecessary filler that was kind of boring at that point. But starting with them, I think is a better choice.
Yeah. Kachung and Delphia, what did you guys think of this first issue and this setup of this new town? What was it? Now I forget what the name of the town is.
It was kind of fun. The drunks in the bar. It was kind of strange that it was an Irish. It seemed like an Irish diner.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's actually my favorite part of the issue. Is just
The look of
that
the iris.
crazy image.
Yeah, the look of the iris is.
I mean,
Right.
that's really cool art.
Yeah,
Um,
that is,
Setting.
that's a great panel.
Yeah.
The sheriff, the way that what's his name, the artist,
Oh,
Deladera
Deladera.
drew the
Werther?
sheriff. He seemed
Yeah,
quite young, a lot younger than I would expect a sheriff to be. But I mean, you know, that's kind of
What was
beside the point. But
was
he
the
did,
sheriff's name? Was he named ever? Or
I don't know.
I don't think so. Right?
Did the lady in the bar say his name?
I think the lady. Well, what was the lady in the bar's
Carter.
name again?
Is it Carter?
Yes,
Possibly.
Carter. Yeah,
Carter.
his name's Carter.
But he did seem very what's the word? He
Panicked?
was very understanding to the kid Gabby
Yeah.
and what she'd been through, and you know he kind of believed her pretty quickly.
Well, yeah, it's clear he's in over his head, but he's trying to be helpful, even if he's not so good at it. What about you, Delphia? What do you think of this first issue and the setup in the town?
Yeah, I thought it was good. I mean, I guess I need to take a look and see where it ended really quickly. Because I read it all together, so I want to be very clear about where the setup ends here. But I think that overall it was good. I mean, I like the characters so far. I thought that I wonder if that one scene, I think there was a scene in here that was kind of unnecessary if it was in this part, probably, which was the whole bit about him about to take a nap.
Oh, I think that's in the next volume.
Yeah.
issue, but
Okay.
yeah.
So, yep, just kidding. But still, I mean,
But yeah,
it's kind of still in like the setup of like the
of the sheriff in the town, and yeah.
Yeah, and like to me, I mean, it was fine to show a little bit of, I guess, extra, but to me, it didn't really do anything one way or the other. Like we kind of get it that he's like a tired sheriff, so
Yeah.
like I don't know, it wasn't funny. We didn't learn anything, and I think the fact that there's like a lot of content missing on, a lot of the pages where it's just art, where there is content. They should probably try to make better use of it.
Yeah.
I mean, but I thought that the setup was fine. I mean, the characters are good. I think that there's a lot of similarities to these characters as the last characters. Like, there's a lot of mirroring of, like, there's a little kid and there's one kid, it seems like is kind of the center point. And, and then we have the sheriff and this relationship. So, I wonder if like every issue, like every, series of something killing the children, if it's going to kind of run in that direction where it's like one kid and, they're the kid that can, lure in the monsters essentially. Like, is it ever going to be maybe it's several kids like Stranger Things, maybe it's a little different, but it seems like the setup is very similar. So not bad, but just, predictable.
Okay.
A little predictable. No, I mean a little less like there was definitely less surprises, like just kind of coming your way.
Makes sense. What about you, Kavi? What do you think of this setup issue?
I mean, I don't think I have much more to add beyond what Delphia just said. It was fine. Like I enjoyed the banter parts between, what was her name? Rikita or Ricky?
I just said Ricky.
Ricky.
I would say yeah.
Yeah, it wasn't Rikita, right? It was Ricky, right?
I think it was just Ricky.
Ricky.
It had a U in it.
I think I internalized it as like Riqui or something, but I don't know.
Yeah. R-I-Q.
I never looked up actual pronunciation or anything, but yeah, I like that whole like bar room banter with the regulars. because I mean, maybe there's been stuff like that in previous volumes, but I didn't quite
Cute.
recall it necessarily. But
Yeah.
the rest of it seemed like it was a deja vu fest for me. Like that's what
Mhm.
I was feeling, I guess, in a way. Especially having been removed from the title for that long, I was like, have I read this or did I? I didn't like. I knew I haven't read it, but at the same time, I felt like I had read it already. So
Okay.
it was fine, but I got more interested in like the subsequent issues. I would say that by far the issue, I don't remember what issue number it was, 21. I would say it's the weakest for me. It was the weakest issue of the whole fall.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So for me, I enjoyed the setup. I get where you guys are coming from. It is very similar to what we got before. I feel like that's really going to be the tone of the series in terms of she's going to be going to a new town, fighting a new monster, helping a new set of kids, or in this case, individual kids. And sort of that's what I asked for. I think if I remember back to when we were talking about the first 3 volumes, like I was ready to move on to a new town, new monster, and so I was ready for it. I thought it was an effective use of an issue to just set up. Okay, this is the monster she's dealing with. This is the kid. These are the people she's going to have to deal with. And then having her appear at the end of the issue, I thought it worked well as a setup issue. But for me, obviously, then we get we open the next issue, and it seems to be a completely different type of monster, and we get a completely new character. So I'm going to let Javi go first. What do you think of our introduction to Cutter as we go into this?
Hold on, let me get that up here so I know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, they lay on the gore right off the bat with Cutter.
The problem with digital is it picks you up where you last left off, so it's always at the last page of the story for me.
Right.
So that's annoying. But yeah, I mean that's some gory art to begin this issue. I mean, that's my first impression now looking at it again, and probably when I was reading it, it was just like, holy crap, this is like probably as hard as the book has ever gone, like, or it's close to, like with that
Pretty
first
close.
panel.
Yeah.
And just especially that bottom panel on was that page 2?
Yeah.
With the blood splatter everywhere and
Yeah.
stuff. Holy crap. Yeah, I mean it's very creepy, impressive artwork.
Mhm.
And sets the vibe for sort of how bad this monster is. So,
Well, the Monster Hunter, as we turn out.
or Monster Hunter, yeah,
You
exactly.
see the monster's head on the mantle in that panel.
Yeah. Or how badass essentially this character is.
Yeah.
But with a lot of mystery still to the character.
What did
Yeah,
you
she's
think?
pretty creepy
Yeah.
with the whole dolly thing.
The way she interacts with her doll compared to the others that we've seen so far.
Yeah.
Yeah. Go ahead, Katrina. What did you think of that?
Oh yeah, I think she was my favorite character of the book, of the whole trade.
I agree.
She came in hard, and yeah, I just think she's super creepy. She's a strong character, and she's now hunting Erica. It comes across that way.
We see right off the bat the way she talks, like with what happened to the kid, like that not all the kids were killed by the monster.
Right.
That she.
Right.
Yeah, a clear new antagonist has entered their chat.
Yes. And it's not for the first time, it's not some nameless creature thing. So, Delphia, what did you think about the introduction of Cutter here?
I liked it. I mean, it was definitely shocking because it was pretty gory, and there were no words, so you kind of just had to go through and look at all the gore. But
Piece it together somehow.
It was well done, though. I thought it was well done. I thought that it was easy to figure out like what the actions were like going on. So I thought that was like really, really, really good storytelling through imagery. And I also liked the character. I was excited to get into the character. So I think that'll be probably the best part of this whole. Like, I think honestly, as far as the whole run, I think for her it'll be Cutter. I think she's a little bit more interesting than Jessica. Like, because we already kind of figured Jessica's thing out, so it's a new character for us to figure out for now. Maybe she's not more interesting. We just don't know yet.
Right. What about you, John? What did you think of Cutter?
I think everybody's nailed it. Yeah, I think she's instantly your eye goes to her, right? And
I mean,
she's got
that panel.
It's the eyes. It's the way she's almost like painted herself with the blood. It's the general like calm, relaxed attitude she has towards just killing people. And there's a sort of like subtle, relaxed joy that she seems to have, where she says things like, whether she's like, "Is this a capture or a kill?" And then they're like, "Oh, we need you to eliminate this person." And she's like, "Good." Like there seems to be a certain amount of excitement and happiness that she's getting from her job, which is clearly cleanup.
Yeah.
Right. And so in that way, she's we've seen cleaners, in movies before and in the comics before, but this in what does that mean in the Something's Killing the Children universe, I think is going to be exciting.
Okay. So I would agree with everything you guys are saying. She clearly it's just an excellent setup for our antagonists that we're going to be dealing with going forward. And it's just really effective. Her calm and collected, and the way she talks to her doll. Okay, come here. The way she talks to her doll and they interact makes her even creepier. Just the way that, yeah. But, knowing what those are now, it just makes it creepier. The second half of this issue is all about Erica trying to operate without support, sort of like trying to like tell her lies and that she's a journalist and get the information she needs and be able to operate sort of without backup in terms of like being able to make her story work. You went out already? You just came in. What did you guys think of that? And like how Erica's trying to function on her own. I think it's Katoon Delphia. What did you guys think?
I think her backstory was a bad choice. The journalist, I think.
Her cover story.
Her cover story. I think her cover story was just a bad choice. Like, she probably should have picked maybe like private investigator or or assassin. I mean, and I'm also a little bit surprised that the cop was so easy on her, that the sheriff was so easy on her. So
he flat out admits early in the book that he's bad at his job. So.
I mean, he is, right? He's not very good at it. But I think that I think she got through it, so that's the most important thing. But I think it was definitely a little messy.
Yeah. John, what about you? What do you think of Erica's backstory?
Yeah, I think that's the element of this story arc that's a little bit more different from the first one, which is you're getting to see her without training wheels, without assistance. It's kind of it's like Tony Stark without his armor. You're getting to see the brain at work a little bit more and the ingenuity that's at work there for her. So I enjoy that. She's clearly not used to it, so there's a lot of floundering, which is it's fun to see your hero struggle. So I kind of enjoyed that as well.
Right.
I think it's a way of illuminating more about her character without just like blatantly giving us exposition backstory stuff.
Okay. Tommy, what about you? What do you think of how Erica tries to handle her backstory here without support?
I mean, I thought it made sense. If you're gonna be poking around, asking questions, visiting the cops, asking questions, like there's only a couple things that you can, realistically go with, I guess, as a cover story or whatever.
Yeah.
I didn't focus so much on Erica while reading this issue. Like, ironically, when she was only in one panel in the previous issue. And this is kind of her first issue in the story, but I don't know. I like the quieter scenes in this issue, I guess, like between the two cops when Erica's not there. I thought there was some funny moments in that conversation. The back and forth between Gabby and Ricky as well, like when Ricky's like telling her stories about, I guess like she had some sort of romantic relationship with her aunt or something like that. Yeah. And then there's that one line where she goes like, "That's so gay." And like, I actually laughed out loud at that one line, that panel. I was like, it was charming in like a rebellious teenager kind of way.
Right.
But yeah, I don't know. I thought it made sense, but it wasn't exactly. This wasn't a thrill ride of an issue. It was like building up. It was just building up everybody that you've just been introduced to, so that you can start, getting things into gear, into action towards the end of the issue. When I guess at that point, she's already kind of on the cops' radar and stuff.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
Well, she gets herself on the cops' radar right at the end of this is when she gets arrested, and she leaves the octopus behind. And we kick off the third issue with her. We see that she's not completely on her own, that under the table she is getting help from Big Gary that we met in volume 4.
The best character, R.I.P. Damn it.
Yeah. Spoilers already.
Yeah, but whatever.
So we see that she's on her own, but she's still getting a little bit of a limited assistance. But then we get the whole scene where that Delphia was talking about earlier, which is her and the sheriff, and he finds the knives, and like her story is so bad. He's like, well, why do you want to write a story about this? She's like, I figure I don't know. And he looks at her, and her face is just like not convincing at all. He's just like, okay, whatever. You guys, John, what did you think of this whole interaction with her and the sheriff and how bad he is? Yeah,
I think the third issue is my least favorite, and that's basically where 8 pages of this issue is just this scene between her and the cop. And I don't think it had enough. I don't think I got enough of his character to really like appreciate his personality in this moment. I think it's trying to be funny, and it's trying to be and it just doesn't quite work for me.
Right.
I like the other stuff. The stuff with Cutter is kind of interesting that comes later on, but this scene for 8 pages, you got to hit some home runs in there, and it just doesn't click for me as well as it should.
Yeah.
So for me, it was a very slow kind of slog, which made me glad that like I was reading it quickly and just going on to the next.
We end the issue with Cutter.
But hey, maybe this is Kavi's favorite because we get a lot of dialogue.
Well, it was. I wouldn't say. I think issue 1 was clearly my least favorite, but I like this because I like the Big Gary character.
Yes,
right.
And that's how I think the whole first like 6 pages or something is primarily him and her. So that's why I like it. The other parts I would agree with what John said. Like I scrolling through these quickly on my tablet here, I don't even remember what they discussed. So I would have to like literally reread that to like remember like what that 8-page sequence even was. So I was kind of dozing off during that conversation, frankly. Well,
I think that's fair for what it was.
I think so.
He kind of figured that she wasn't from New York.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it did drag on a little bit.
Yeah, he punches holes in all of her story. It's clear she's not telling her everything, and I don't know. And maybe we'll get information later, but then he lets her go.
My least favorite line is basically what you're talking about. It's where he says, "You're not killing these kids and just playing me for some dumb hick fool, are you?" Like, what do you expect her to say to that? Let's just say she actually is the killer. Do you want her? Do you think she's literally going to admit to her crime right there in the moment?
Oh, got me. Yeah.
It's like he's clever enough to see through all her lies and call her on it, but then he asks that question, and I'm like, yeah, you are an idiot.
Yeah.
Like ask her ask her something to trick her into a lie where you can catch her and stuff. But like that question right there was when I just like, okay, this is
because he should be acting. He should be acting like, I believe you, but I don't trust you at all.
Well,
Because
I
then
mean,
and then he just lets her go right after asking that blunt question. He's like, okay, peace.
right. It's almost like is this a bad cop or is this a lazy cop?
Yeah.
Like because like in the beginning he like put the kid with the woman and she had to work. So she's like I have to work. So she locked the kid up in her apartment. But he could have just like put her in a jail cell and had
Right.
someone watch her and been done with it. And then, here's someone who's suspicious and they don't know her and she has a bunch of knives. And then instead of trying to figure it out or going with her, he's just like, you're free to go. So it's like, is he a bad cop or is he just a cop that doesn't want to do his job? Or both? It seems, I mean, we're definitely saying bad cop, but there's some interesting choices for a cop.
Yeah.
He seems inept to me. For
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah.
Bad,
Or just-
not a
Or
bad
just
cop
or
in
just
terms of-
average or below average.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
I would have liked to seen 4 pages of that dropped and 4 pages more of Cecilia Slaughter and Miss Cutter.
Cutter.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
The end of this issue is strong with like
And I think that for me, what I ultimately wanted was a chance to get to know this cop, his personality, what's going on with him through his interrogation of Erica. And I think it just failed to do so.
Yeah. It would have been a good time to do it.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. I should have come out of this scene feeling like I really like or I really hate this cop because he's either really bad at his job or he's really good at his job and I'm impressed. But I got neither of those things.
Yeah.
He didn't come off with a personality at all.
Does he come back later in this volume? Because I can't even remember right now that if he came back.
I don't think he does.
Or is that, I guess, or they're going to leave his fate of whether you think he's a good or bad cop to the next volume.
Yeah, no, I
Yeah,
don't,
they
think
leave it. I don't
Yeah.
think we see him again.
Yeah, I don't think we do see him again. So
There you go.
Yeah.
All right, so Kachung already mentioned the last part of this issue, which is Cecilia and Miss Cutter. Cecilia picking her up from the airport, is they've had to hire an outside person to hunt Erica. That was the whole point. Is they had to go to a different house, and we see her basically. There's an annoying lady on the plane, and we see what her standards are. She just like goes into the bathroom and kills this lady. He's like, "You can clean that up, right?" like. And so, what did we think of this interaction? Because Cecilia came off as kind of our antagonist in the first 4 volumes, really, in a lot of ways. Tavi, what did you think of this section here with Miss Cutter and Cecilia?
I don't know. It was cool. It was like a John Wick movie or something like that. Like in my head, it was cool. I don't know.
Bringing
liked it,
Cecilia in to kill John Wick, is that what or bringing Cutter in to kill John Wick, is that what
Yeah, like I don't know. It felt very cinematic, is I guess what I was trying to say. Even though it was a scene, mainly just a dialogue scene between two characters, there's two characters that I'm interested in more, and that have like an edge to them. And so the dialogue was actually really interesting to me.
Kachung and Delphia, what about you guys?
They seem like they're sisters or something.
Mm-hmm.
Very similar in personality.
Interesting. That's not the way I would have read that, but that's interesting that you think that.
I thought it was funny because people on planes can be obnoxious.
Oh yeah.
Well, I mean, they both. I guess they both have a similar agenda to some degree with as it relates to Erica. So
Right. So, but for me, like where he says they're like I feel like Cecilia likes to project herself that she's what Miss Cutter actually is, even though she's not.
Right.
Like, and now that she's confronted with something that's actually what, like, to me, she comes across as being intimidated in this scene by, ultimately by the end of this, is being very intimidated by this person. But
yeah,
that's
by Cutter.
By Cutter, because Cutter seems to be all the things, and Cutter even does it later with another white mask, because Cecilia's a white mask. I think a lot of Cecilia's issues with Erica is Erica gets to be a black mask, which is the status of being a solo hunter that we learned in the last thing versus having to hunt in a team. And yeah, I think she's seeing a real black mask right here. That's like, oh yeah, this is what they are. But John, what about you? What did you think of this whole interaction?
It's a great scene to see someone that you thought of as powerful become humbled. You know, that's always really interesting to see. I love when basically Cutter is asking her to like give the official order. Like it's almost like needling her. Like she's, I imagined her like with a giddy, like say it, like, you know, let me off the leash. That's what I really want. Like I've been waiting for you to say the command and let me off my leash to go kill this person. Like, come on, buddy. This is my favorite moment. Like send me on my mission.
Yeah.
And it's really creepy the way she does it. Like it just, I love the vibe of it. And they're in the car and again, the casual violence that Cutter like gravitates towards and pulls along with her. It's fascinating. So yeah, it's easily the best part of this issue for sure.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
There is just one nugget earlier with Big Gary. We get to know the type of creature. She calls it the duplicit type.
Oh yeah.
Right.
I don't know if we've seen
it walks
that
like a man or something. Like it appears like a man or walks like
walks
a man.
like a man, which we then get at the start of this next issue is we get to see how it actually appears.
Right.
And it looks like a guy until you get close. Like, like it takes the shape of a person, but until you get close, and then it's just the creepy mouth eye thing.
Yeah, for sure.
Just, yeah.
What's that thing? The Slender Man or whatever?
Yeah,
Doesn't it kind of look like that?
It was very similar to that.
Very similar.
Yeah. I was also thinking though, like I feel like this whole like just this whole story of like what's killing the children, you know, it's obviously the monsters just kill the children, and I've just been wondering if the writer, if this is like a metaphor for something else, you know, like if it's about like the issues that are going around the world, that have been going around the world with like child trafficking,
right?
You know, because I mean, to me, it's just like it's very interesting, especially the way they describe they even bring up like earlier in this whole book about like pedophilia, like that comes up. You know, it's not necessarily like tied directly to the monsters, but it's certainly in the content. So I just thought that was like really, really interesting. And I've just been wondering like if there is ties to that outside of this, and like if that's kind of
you get the vibe of, because it's these predators that prey on children that only the children can see, like that the adults don't see them, and the metaphor there is that like often the adults just see another adult and they don't see somebody who's actually like predatory toward these kids or whatever. And so there is that blind spot kind of reference that's going on for sure.
I think it's a metaphor for TikTok. I haven't read anything. Like I don't know if James Tynion is like spoken about this.
I hadn't heard
I'm sure he has,
like that.
But I haven't researched it. So I
haven't either.
Me either.
So
I just thought there were a lot of interesting ties to like that were like throughout it, like just a lot of the like just the very like cult things around it, and then you know the children and feeding off their fears, and so I just thought it was very interesting. And then especially in this book when it brought up, and I know she was referring to Jessica as the pedo, but it's still just the fact that it was even in there at all, I thought that was just very, very weird, very interesting, very if it was selected or if it was just coincidence, you know.
Yeah.
Especially for her to refer to like a female as a pedo, because typically women, you know, aren't predatorial in that way. That's just not a normal thing that people would say or believe. So it just seemed an interesting choice.
For sure. Okay.
Let's return to Slender Man. Sorry.
That was good. You're good. You never know where things just said. Yes, I see you, Cat.
And now we're to the section of the story with a cat. That's why, Harley's all pumped up.
There's a cat. What am I gonna do? She's just mad because I have closed doors.
Now, does Gabby return to her house? Is that what happens?
Yeah.
then?
Yeah.
Yeah, she goes back to get clothes because she was mad. Like we seen her earlier, like she was upset that she was having to wear Ricky's clothes and she wanted her own stuff. So she, without permission, just goes back to get her stuff. And obviously, they're still there, and she finds Octo,
Which
who
I love. So one of my favorite parts of this volume is getting to see Octo with somebody else and
Yeah.
how he's like playing her. Like I love that. And it plays nicely on the like conclusion. I think it's of issue 2 where she gets arrested and leaves Octo, and we're like, oh, that's going to be a problem later. It's the Chekhov's gun on the mantle, right? Where it's like clearly this gun's going to go off at some point, and to see it go off in this way, I think it's kind of cool. And I've always liked Octo's always been one of my favorite characters.
Octo is one of the better characters. But you also see like there's always been this discussion about like from that we saw, especially in that we got an explanation of in volume 4 about really how even though this monster is trapped in this doll, how dangerous they still are. And you get to see someone who's not aware of what they're dealing with, how easily Octo manipulates Gabby through this, like for sure. And so like that interaction is just really well done. Meanwhile, Erica is continuing to tell terrible lies as she tries to talk to Ricky. But I thought the interesting thing is we get the best part of this issue again was Cutter interacting with Old Dragon and Cecilia, like at the end of this. And just like her facial expressions during that whole interaction of just the way she manipulates him and talks to him, and then like her reaction to getting some of the gummies that he eats on and just everything. What did John, I don't remember whose turn it is to go first.
Like
John,
the artwork, I mean, it reminds me of Sean Murphy's art a little bit.
Yeah.
In a way, like his Batman art.
Yeah,
Like that panels, especially like.
Yeah.
I mean, I know it's not Sean Murphy, but it's very much in his style.
And it's kind of a similar, like the way the lines around the eyes and like the heavy, like checking and stuff around the eyes. You get kind of like, it is kind of very similar a little bit.
Cross-hatching.
Yeah, cross-hatching and stuff. Kavi, what did you think of that whole sequence, though, of her interacting with Old Dragon and Cecilia?
It was cool. It was cool because like you're kind of made to think that like he's like intimidating to everybody, but it doesn't seem like she's all that intimidated. No. Or she's holding her own in that trio, almost as if like she's smarter than the other two, but I don't know that for sure. But...
Right, and how quickly she deduces that she's still getting help, like that whole sequence, for sure.
Yeah. I mean, which sucks because I like the Big Gary character, but
I
was like, oh no,
What about you? And I love how that she like even uses like she interacts with Dolly as much as she does them while she's having this conversation, which we've never seen anybody else do. It's to that level.
I really like that part, where she says that to Dolly that she likes this mean lady.
Yeah.
Well, she's requesting like she's basically requesting, information that goes above and beyond what anybody gets, and she's being accommodated. So, she's respected at the highest level of this order, I guess. You could say.
For sure. John, what about you? What did you think of this whole scene?
So there's a fun like immaturity and infantile quality to her where she's like eating gummy bears and she's super excited and has this like
kind of Harley Quinn-ish a little bit.
And her toy or whatever is this creepy little doll. Like there's something there's something about her as an individual that is extra creepy, right? Because of the way she's sort of infantized, right? Like she's acting like a child, but she's doing these graphically horribly violent things. So that dichotomy I think is very interesting and super off-putting and very very useful in the way they use her in the story. So yeah, that whole sequence is, and I feel like it permeates all of her scenes because they all have that quality to them, right? That immaturity.
Like immaturity, but just very like hyper aware of like everyone else around her and like how they're reacting to her. Like she's just like thinking at a level that the others don't seem to be on, which we really see in the opening scene of the final issue, which is when she's being driven around by the other character and she's like basically interrogating this character and like sees right through her responses and like that she has Aaron's mask still with her. And like, so what did you guys, Delphi and Kachung, what did you think? Just both sequences, because you guys didn't say a whole lot yet about the sequence with Old Dragon, but both that and then her interaction with her driver.
I thought that I like the dragon character. So, I mean, anytime he's in the story, I enjoy it. But as far as the sequence, I think as far as her not getting intimidated, I think she's made that pretty clear that nothing intimidates her. No. I think, her even having Cecilia kind of face her own self as well. So she knows herself. And I think even that car ride is an extension of that. I mean, I think she essentially, has a conversation with that the white mask driver. And
are we supposed to know that character or not?
I don't think so.
I don't remember. Okay, because I was like, at that when I was reading it, it had been so long I couldn't remember. If
my guess is that might be a character from the whole
House of Slaughter miniseries. Yeah,
yeah, because I think.
Okay, yeah.
I think that like because the beginning of that tells like some of Aaron's backstory. My guess is that's where we meet that character in terms of knowing what their relationship with Aaron was, probably, which we haven't read.
Right.
Because I'd heard initially bad things and then that it got better, but I haven't read any of the House of Slaughter.
How long has that other book been going? Is it still going? Or?
I think it was 2 volumes, and then I don't know if it's still going or not. So I would have
like 10 issues. 10
issues.
Yeah.
Huh. No, I think here in the car, the scene.
Wasn't done.
Oh,
you guys all just talked over.
Sorry,
Delphi, go.
It's okay.
I didn't.
John didn't. It's okay. But I waited, and then you didn't come back. But that's all right. So I was just gonna say that it was an extension of her having people recognize their true selves. She did it with Cecilia, and then she did it again in the car. And I think that was the purpose of that character. Maybe not to get to know him, but to essentially show that that so many of these white masks really, deep down inside, maybe not all of them, but quite a few of them really want to be black masks and be out on their own. But for whatever reason, in the house of, Slaughter and these other houses, they get put into these, assignments, and, they're a black mask, and maybe there's black masks that don't want to be black masks, but there seems to be white masks that certainly would prefer to be a black mask. And I think that's essentially what happened in this. So again, unveiling someone's true self. And I think that's kind of her like human superpower.
Yeah.
I'm done. Sure. Thanks, guys.
I'm sorry that I didn't.
No, it's okay. Hey, it's fine.
I get easily distracted.
So House of Slaughter is in the midst of their 3rd arc, and issue 15, which ends that, is coming in May. So they're
that's almost as many issues as this book.
Their issue 13 comes out next week, and then 14 is April, and 15 is May.
Okay. So I haven't read any of that yet. So.
I read issue 1, and I just felt like I'm not ready for this. If I hear it's amazing, I can go back.
No.
And I have not heard that.
I heard like the first arc was not great.
Is it the same exact people doing it, or is it a new team?
It's the same writer, obviously, Tinian, but it's different artist.
Different artist.
Okay.
Okay. Anyone else have anything to add about this whole sequence with her and the driver, or even going clear back to her.
So there's one thing that I picked up on, like skim reading it reading it the second time. She's torturing Dolly. Like she's got this needle and she pokes Dolly in the back in the fourth panel on the of it, and then a few pages later she's got the needle and she's poking Dolly on the head with it. There's something going on with the way she's like abusing or playing with Dolly, and then she's like suffocating Dolly almost
voodoo
at
or
the
something?
end. I don't know. I'm getting this weird vibe with the way she's working with Dolly. Something going on with
I didn't even notice that. So you said
so
that. Yeah.
so and then like towards the end of the scene, she's sort of like smothering Dolly. She's got Dolly like under her arm and like a hand over Dolly. I don't know. I'm just trying to gauge it by what's going on, and obviously it plays into later what we're gonna get at the end of the story arc.
Right.
But on the second time I read it, I was like, that's weird what she's doing. And it looks like a needle, like it's this little gray sliver that she's kind of prodding the doll with. And I don't know the purpose or function beyond just being creepy as heck. But
Well, we did see, like, when we get our introduction to her, like the kids that she finished off or whatever, she had put needles like in their eyes and stuff.
And Dolly's missing an eye, right?
Mhm.
Dolly is missing an eye.
So there's definitely some weird Cutter's weird.
I mean, yeah, but I was wondering what the like function of it, if it's something that we're going to understand better as we get to see her in action. 'Cause
Ritualistic thing.
everything with her has been, we see the aftermath. We
Right.
don't necessarily see her in action. And that's even true here at the end of this volume. We don't necessarily see her like in action. So
Well,
like,
and she
I
does
feel like they're
say-
keeping it.
Yeah, and she does say when we first meet her and the guy comes to visit her, she's like, you know, you've interrupted my rituals.
Yeah.
And, you know, that she
Well, you
has-
do see her clearly.
She does one thing, yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
she finishes him, but you
She
don't
finishes
see-
off Big Carl.
Yeah.
Or-
Big Gary.
Not
but
Big
yeah.
Carl. Yeah.
So then we get
That
the
was sad.
whole. The next thing we get is the whole scene of Octo completely manipulating Gabby, like just
Oh yeah.
winding her up and getting her to basically go to this monster and dissing her. Like basically, she's like, "What do I do? What do I do?" And he just goes silent.
Yeah.
He's got exactly what he wanted. What did you guys think of? And I'll let Delphia go first this time. So
Yeah.
what did you think of Octo and how he messed with Gabby here?
Yeah, I was surprised that is like with where it ended, as far as like what the end result of what he was leading her to, because I figured Octo was up to something, but I just didn't know, we didn't know what, but I thought Octo was going to try to get out. You know, I thought that Octo was going to try to manipulate Gabby to be released. And I was hoping that Octo would play nice and maybe like we would see a different side of Octo, you know, but you know, I was really hoping that there would be this, you know, maybe a side story with Gabby and Octo, because I like Octo too, John. So I was like, let's go. I was like, let's just go be with Octo and Gabby for a little bit. But it was good. I liked it, but I was definitely surprised by what happened.
I need a Delphia and Kachung, like how to make your own Octo, like walk me through the sewing steps. I want to make my own.
That would be kind of neat.
Boom Studios failing on the whole marketing side here and not having a buy your own Octo plushie, because I'm saying
Oh, they don't have that? Really?
They do not. They do not have it.
Or a dolly or the teddy
I mean, it's
bear.
pretty
that.
basic sewing stuff, but I'm going to need you guys to help me hook me up.
I
There we
could
go.
make him out of foam. I'm not a sewer, but I could make him out of foam.
I mean, if they did that for like a convention exclusive somewhere, that would be hot.
Oh
It'd
my
be,
God.
it'd be batshit crazy. This thing would sell like
Yeah.
hotcakes,
Especially
man.
because it's like he's like a bag. And
Right?
so I mean, literally
Yeah.
he's usable at the con too.
Yeah.
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 Put your
So
comics-
okay, so that's your
Yeah,
next.
like
that's
my
your
little-
next
Alright,
cosplay construction.
My little
project.
kitty
got
bug
it.
right here.
There you go.
Yeah.
Done.
That's
There it
my
is.
Octo back there.
All right. Delphia gave anybody else have thoughts on Octo and Gabby and what he's doing here?
I mean, I forgot how much of a threat Octo was because it had been so long since I had reread the previous volumes. So I think a little bit similarly to what Delphia said, like I didn't see that coming as much as I probably should have had I been fresh on, sort of what the character has been doing. But then Erica quickly reminded the audience or the reader later that probably not a good thing that
do not listen to the actor.
Yeah, exactly.
Don't listen to him.
For sure, that he's gonna get you killed. And of course Gabby doesn't. Like Gabby this whole time is like not interested in Erica at all or her help. And so when Erica basically tells her to stop listening to the octopus, it's like, okay, I'm all in. And basically
it seals the deal.
For sure. So we get to see basically Erica in action again as she comes to save her from Octo and the monster, basically. Only we find out that once again Erica doesn't understand what she's dealing with, just like kind of with the last time, that she doesn't know how to kill this thing, and gets herself hurt. What did you guys think of this fight sequence? Is really the most action we get in this volume, which is pretty slow compared to like the previous volumes. Kavi, what did you think of that sequence before we get to the end here?
It was cool. There was like a splash page, half splash after that, and like a double page spread with panels across multiple, and then I think maybe one final page of the battle. So I would say that's a pretty chunky. I mean, this was a larger issue than the other issues. I think this was like 30 something pages, whereas the other ones are like 20. Low 20s or something. So, it felt appropriately timed, or the length of it felt appropriate. Yes, I like the art in it. I mean, the artwork's always pretty good in these kind of sequences, but the splash page is great, and
with
then,
that knee to the head.
Yeah,
so good.
and then the kind of Stranger Thingsy one there that give me that kind of vibe from the monster itself. And then I don't know, I think it was cool. I the fact that she was hurt, it's like, okay, but let me suspend my skepticism / disbelief for a second, because like it's the main character, right? Like, I know the main character is going to be okay, especially since there's other issues moving forward. But who knows? Maybe it's some sort of lingering injury or issue that affects the outcome of the next volume, but that remains to be seen.
For sure. John, you got anything about the fight that you want to point out?
I love it. I want more. I need more. I want more. Give me more. I liked it. It was fantastic. Yeah, no, I mean, it's what we've been. For me, this is why I felt like this volume is paced better. Like the build up towards this climax was great. You're waiting with anticipation for Octo and Gabby to find this creature. The payoff was great. The creature looked really cool. It moved and did things I wasn't expecting it to do. Of course, you needed Erica to come to the rescue. She does it in classic, Avengers style, just flying through and just punching the bad guy. I love it. So yeah, it all worked for me. I didn't expect this to end. I expected it because knowing that we were like pages away from the end of this trade, and that Cutter hadn't even shown up yet, I was like, clearly.
I really thought the end of the volume was going to be her showing up, not the a hard stop like in between or whatever. But
so the fight was great. I expected that it would be a non-ending, but that it would end this arc well enough for me, or at least this particular volume.
Portion
it did. It worked.
The creature was very like Resident Evil. That's what it reminded me of.
Sure.
But I don't know if you noticed, Octo didn't say anything to her, and if you look at him, his mouth is zipped shut.
Yeah.
And it's almost like he wanted her to be vulnerable and not get any more advice from him, because he wanted her to be there to get attacked by this creature.
Yeah, he's not exactly in anyone's corner but his own. For sure.
I guess it did make sense to me, now that we're at this part of the book, why Octo, because when I saw Octo, I didn't forget who he was from the previous telling of who he was. I just remembered, I just didn't understand why he wouldn't use that opportunity to do something for himself as opposed to like taking her to another monster. That was what I didn't.
Yeah, but I don't know that he can. Like, what he
Are they
can-
trapped forever? Is that?
I don't
they
know.
do that?
Like, the indication is that he's trapped. Like, basically, the only way he can get out is through Erica, not through somebody
Mhm.
else.
Okay.
But
Mhm.
it's
Okay,
what I
that makes
took
sense.
from the way they described it in the previous volume, which what my interpretation was the only way he can be free is through Erica.
Got it.
Is
Like-
there any significance to how Cutter's wearing the mask over her eyes
Well, we saw
in the
that- that's
scene
just
where
it's gonna be a
she's
House of
killing
Cutter thing. Because
what's his name?
You remember the guy that comes visit her with
Garrett.
the
At
red
the very
mask,
beginning, yeah.
instead of wearing it down below,
Oh.
he's wearing it up top too.
Got it.
And his is red, and it goes.
Yeah,
back
his
over
is
the
red
top.
with the white teeth, and my guess is it's just the House of Cutter thing
Mhm.
Okay.
that they wear it different.
But to Delphia's question, I love that question, and I think that's pivotal to like Octo and Erica, and just that whole how that functions, how this works, and it's one of those questions that I feel like I don't need the answer yet, but I do want it, and it should happen at some
Right.
point, right? Like
Right.
understanding what is it that Octo really wants, and and what can he possibly get out of this? Can he be freed from this cage, or is it simply just I'm stuck in this cage forever, but I'm going to inflict as much horror as I can while I'm here before I'm destroyed or whatever.
Mhm.
Either way, I think it's fascinating, and I love the zip. I didn't notice it, and thank you, Dave, for mentioning it. I love that it's like now that he's laid the trap, I can't move, I can't do anything physically, but I'm gonna watch and I'm gonna shut the heck up and just eat my popcorn and enjoy this, right?
Yeah,
Which is fantastic. I think it's a great little moment, and he's just sitting there, and then we don't deal with him the rest of the issue. He comes along with the ride, but we don't deal with him.
yeah.
Makes me wonder if they can zip him up, like if they can be like, I don't want to hear from you, and just zip his mouth, or if he's able to open and close it himself and be like, nah, I can
Yeah,
talk
that's
to you.
interesting. If he can, if Erica can actually make him be quiet or not.
Right.
So, all right.
I mean,
So
she's
that's-
got no allies at this point. Like, really, like,
No,
with-
Nobody's
you know.
cheering for her to win. Not even the local yokels. Nobody wants her.
yeah.
Which is fun, right? When she's the one who's genuinely there to do something good. And it's like when Spider-Man swings in the comics and people are throwing bricks at him or cursing his name. It's like nobody wants him to be there, but he's the only one doing good, right?
Yeah.
I love it.
So
Like, the fact that Ms. Cutter doesn't show up at the fight, but instead is doing what she's actually doing, really
Yeah.
shows how brilliant she is. She just sees through everyone. She sees exactly who they are. And she knew that by going to Erica's help, that she'd be able to lure her.
Yeah.
And that's what she does.
oh, for sure. Big Gary tells her to run and just disappear, and she's like, she won't. She can't, and she.
Are there any other characters that are alive in the story that Erica could call on for help?
Not that we've met.
I'm like scrambling. I can't think of one. But-
So the only people we met that were her allies in Volume 4 were Aaron and Jessica, who we both know are dead, and now Big
Right,
Gary.
now-
That was it.
now Gary's dead.
Because the only other person that really showed up in that was Cecilia when Jessica took her in.
Right.
So,
and-
yeah, at this point, Erica might truly be alone at this point.
yeah.
So, because Cutter takes Big Gary off the table.
Maybe that cop will, prove his worth in that next volume. We'll see.
Maybe, but I mean, yeah. So, what did you guys think? I mean, what did you think of Cutter? The most in action we get to see her here. Delphia Kachung, what did you think of this finale here?
Pretty gruesome. I mean,
Yeah.
the fact that, as Kavi said, that she puts that mask over her eyes, very daredevil-y,
It is very freaky.
it's real freaky. Like,
Yeah.
it just elevates her creepiness.
And-
That she doesn't even need to see. Maybe she can see through that, but it's almost saying she doesn't even need to see what she's about to do.
Yeah.
Game face.
One, I just love look at the face of the her driver of what she's been doing to
Mm.
like her eyes, and she's just like, like
Yeah, like what am I witnessing right here?
yeah, what am I a part of?
I mean,
Don't
it's
you
just
got anything
sad.
to
It's
add
just
to that?
sad it's just sad because
Go ahead, Kyle.
it was a character that offered like a little bit of hope in some of the previous stories,
Yeah,
and a different kind of personality for this story, like a unique personality. So sucks to lose the character, I guess.
Yeah. Delphi, what about you?
And
What
it
did you-
sucks for Erica to lose the
Yeah.
character as well.
Mhm. Yeah, I mean, I think it was. I agree with Kavi. I like the character. I think that I like anyone that likes dogs. So he has dogs, and he seems like he's good to them. So he's
True.
probably a good person. And but I liked him, but and she needed him, right? I mean, she needed him to continue doing well, right? He was her beacon. So
Is that the first time she expressed like a level of care to the degree of love? Because she says, "I love you, Gary," in that panel
Yeah.
before.
I
he
think
died.
so.
I think so.
Mm.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely sad, and it's going to be interesting to see who replaces him, because from everything that we've read and we're reading, I don't think that she's going to be able to find new monsters on her own and she's certainly struggling to figure out how to beat them on her own. So I think she's going to have a very, very challenging time continuing without getting some help.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
for sure. John, what about you?
I mean, yeah, we've seen her battered, bruised, broken, and now fully abandoned. I think it's definitely going to lead to this climactic showdown, this triangle showdown with Erica, the monster, and then Cutter, and the three of them. I mean, I'm hoping she just gets the monster to kill Cutter. It doesn't just make your two enemies fight each other, then you don't have to fight both.
See, I don't think the monster's going to stand much of a chance against Cutter.
I'm
But
hoping
hey, that at least
somehow. I'm
one
hoping
less to
somehow
fight.
she gets Cutter on her side.
Yeah.
Somehow, which is probably impossible. But yeah.
I think the monster might be more likely.
Yeah.
But
But that's the only way I see keeping both characters.
You're right.
It
Right.
feels like it has to come to a head to where Cutter dies if she's gonna.
Mm-hmm.
If Erica
And-
Slaughter is still the main character, if something is killing the children.
If the
moving
real villain of the series is all of these houses,
Mhm.
then the real story is Erica finally deciding not to hunt the monsters but to hunt them instead. And is that
Right,
where
to
the
take
show
on-
is that
take
where the
on the
story
system.
goes? Or
Right.
does she decide to go back into the system and rejoin them? Because I feel like those are some of the only options here. Either she
Yeah.
goes back to being a part of a changed system, or does she finally realize that the system is flawed and you've got to get in there and get rid of all of them first. I don't know.
I think she's gonna fight Cutter and kill her, and then she's gonna fight Cecilia, and it's gonna be a struggle and probably slow death, and she'll kill her, and then the old guy, what's his name?
Dragon something.
Dragon.
The
Oh,
dragon, because he's a bit vulnerable, kind of, and she's now killed, both of this black mask and white mask badasses, and so he's going to level and kind of give her back, because I think they have like a deeper relationship, because before their relationship seemed much deeper than what the members of the houses just have with each other. So I think he'll bring her back in at that point. That's my could be totally off, but that's my guess.
Well, if maybe we read House of Slaughter, we might find more out about that.
Probably, yeah. I mean, I don't know how the readership is on that book compared to the main book or any of those details, but I'm assuming people are reading both if
Probably.
if they have this on their pull list or whatever, like if that even exists, if that's a thing.
And if Erica does kill these house people, then she can collect their toys and bring them and put them on the table in front of Dragon.
All right. I think we kind of ventured into this, but any final thoughts about this volume before we close the show tonight? Delphia Kachung, we'll let you guys go. Any final thoughts that you haven't got to express?
Quick read. I think everyone said it, but quick read, right?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Enough for me to want to read the next one.
I feel like for me, that's been the consistency. Is like I've never thought it was like just oh my god, I have to keep reading, but it's always been enough to like keep me coming back. And I feel like that's a good way to describe it. Like, and for sure, I got to come back for this showdown between Erica and Cutter at this point, for sure. But yeah, Kavi, you got any other final?
Yeah,
thoughts?
it's pretty similar. Like I've never been blown away, mind blown by this comic, and I've had ebbs and flows of being, I guess, more into it versus less into it. But overall, it's like at a steady like B plus, and it's so quick of a read that it's not like. If this was like reading at the level of Sandman, but disappointing me, like meaning the amount of words, what I mean? And the amount of dialogue, but I wasn't into it, I wouldn't continue. Definitely not. Yeah. But, this isn't that. This is like really heavy on artwork, light on dialogue, heavy on Easter eggs within the artwork. If you're not even paying attention, like some of those things that I missed completely that Dave pointed out. Which I guess, which is a cool factor as well to it, where that the artwork, you need to pay more attention to the artwork probably than you are. You know what I mean? So I think it's cool. It's got its advantages in that it is entertaining and quick, and so you're not going to be like, slogging through it if you're not into it per se.
Right.
I'm not into it. I just don't think it's an A+ comic kind of thing. Yeah,
totally. Yeah. John, what about you? Any final thoughts?
I think for me, this was the volume that kind of sealed me on wanting to just buy the hardcovers. So if that's the most positive thing I can come out of this saying, which is for whatever it is, $30 on Amazon, you get 15 issues of this comic, and you probably could breeze right through them, but at $2 an issue and in that nice hardcover format.
Is it very large? Like the
I
size?
think it's a slightly oversized. Yeah.
Slightly oversized.
Okay. You got one.
Yeah. I have the first one. So it's just a standard deluxe.
Yeah, see, it's oversized, right? Yeah, compared to the trade or whatever. Yeah.
Compared to the trade, you get more art.
I mean,
it's
compared to
the art. Yeah. See, yeah.
Oh,
exactly.
that is much bigger.
That's cool.
So I think it sealed the deal for me because on Amazon, $31 you get that hardcover. I'm sure it's at your LCS. If you get your discount there, it's probably going to be significant.
0 shelf space left. 0.
Got to start putting stuff out.
I know.
So I think for me personally, I'll start giving away the trades when we read them, and then buying the hardcovers and enjoying those, because I think it's something that reads well in like full arcs and collected that way, where you get 3 trades in one. And the art's slightly larger because, as we said, the art you can get in there close and really expose the nuances. I think that's really kind of cool. So for me, it sealed the deal on that.
Okay. Yeah, I think the art is really consistent, which is nice, and it's also not so much in the within the 5 that we read this time, but I think overall, some of the art within the comic series entirely is amazing. Like some of it's just, I think, really, 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 really cool, and really nice. And hopefully we'll see some more of that, right? But I think even, without that, throughout, the art is very consistent. It doesn't get sloppy or lazy and fall off at any point. All of the characters are well done. So all of the scenes are well done and well illustrated. And I appreciate that.
For sure. All right. Well, yeah, I think you guys are saying all the stuff that I think about this is, I'm into it. It's not like my favorite thing that I read, but I'm definitely into it and want to keep going. And the art definitely
Have
carries
they
the book. But I
announced
think-
like how long the book is going to be in general, or not? No.
I've never heard anything about it. I don't think
So it's just
anything that they're-
ongoing.
I got the feeling that it was ongoing, and certainly now that they've been pushing and selling the rights with Netflix, I think they have a
Right.
desire to make this like
Mhm.
not limited in any way.
Mhm.
I mean, you could do the Erica goes town to town for a long time. Like now, keeping them fresh and not becoming what Delphia said about this town of like completely repeats and just very standard and you
Yeah.
know keeping people interested will be a lot harder. Than
I
doing
feel like, I mean, you could speculate a million different ways about adaptations, like especially a comic like this. You would have to fill in a lot of the time with dialogue that previously didn't exist. So
Oh, for
I think
sure.
to make it an entertaining TV show. So
Well, I think the first, like we had, I think mentioned when we did the first 3 trades was the idea that that would be a season, right? So those 15
Right.
issues, and you'd need
Yeah.
to expand on it because they read quick and they go quick, and you need to
Mhm.
find ways to expand that out to make
Yeah.
that a season.
Mhm.
Well, it might be one of the
and who knows when
the
we actually
streaming
see
season
something
of
like that.
6 episodes or something.
May never happen. You never
Right.
know.
Yeah, who knows if it'll ever actually
Yeah.
come to fruition. But all right. Well, with that, unless you guys got anything else, we will get out of here. Thanks to Old Wolf for hanging out with us, Signature
Old
King,
Wolf.
Jay.
Yeah.
Johnny was in here. Unruly were in here earlier. So thank you, everyone. And we will catch you guys next time. Later.